This is episode 18. I'm producer Sydney Corra, right next to longtime motorsports insider Kurt Hansen. Kurt, it's been a little while. I was dying, but now I've been brought back to life, and I'm happy to be here with you.
Well, next time you go to the Conga, be sure you get all your shots. Because you were chasing wild boar, is that right?
Yeah, dude, you would think that I came back from the fucking Amazon or something. I was down and out.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that Amazon delivered diseases to the house, but I guess if you get some good COVID, I hear the Chinese have a new COVID edition. You could probably dial it up on Amazon, and if you're a Prime member, they'll deliver it tomorrow.
Well, I'm probably patient 0.
Oh, God. Which is that's a book,
What, patient 0?
Yeah, it's a book about and they've tracked it back. The person that brought AIDS to America, and he was I believe a Dutch or Scandinavian, no, I believe a South African fellow. Forget, I've read the book. Named Gaetan, if I'm not mistaken, and he was a flight steward for Pan Am, and he used to do the New York to Johannesburg, South Africa, and then other spots around Africa. And he was a gay fellow, and he picked up AIDS.
Just kidding.
What? I can't believe you said that. My God, are we? We have to be. No, this is unplugged, so we can say whatever we want.
We'll cut that out.
But no, it's all right. Yeah, and he brought back the disease, and he lived on Fire Island, which in New York was, especially back way in the day, was like the gay party place, like in America. Okay. And at first they called it the yuppie flu, and then they called it the NYU flu, because a lot of students at NYU were getting it. But the problem was nobody knew what it was. He had it. He came here. He would have, sex with either gay or bisexual men, who may then have, if they're bisexual, sex with women that would then give it to another straight guy. And it exploded. It's called, I'm pretty sure it's called Patient Zero. It's a fascinating read, and it really is kind of mind-blowing, but they kind of trace back all the stuff and wrote a book about it. And is it so? How the hell did we get a motorsports podcast started off talking about a book about the transference of
Kanye West says that the government administered AIDS, so I'm just going to go with that one. I'm just going to listen to him on that.
Oh, so this is following up on your Draymond Green thing. Kanye, what the hell's wrong with that guy?
What? Dude, I love Kanye.
Yeah, but he probably thinks the Earth is flat too. Then.
Yeah, I don't know how he feels about the shape or the curvature of the planet, but nevertheless, Kanye, please sponsor this podcast. And please make us merch.
Oh, I look at you going right to the John Forrest sponsor read thing. Well, I'm really glad that you're okay. I'm just joking about. I'm not joking about the book. The book's a great read, and I'm not making fun of any of that kind of stuff. But especially with what the world's gone. Yeah, what the world's gone through the past 3 years, and then what you just went through, and you, like you said, is even depressing because I've been real sick like that. And then, of course, when I had all my facial reconstruction and surgeries and stuff done, there were times you just lay there on the couch, just like, I'm done. Yeah, stick a fork in me.
Yeah, I was wondering that. I was thinking the same thing. But yeah, no. It's really great now. I mean, it's not great, but it's amazing now how there's treatments and it's possible to live with HIV and stuff, but for a long time it was just devastating.
Look at me, I'm a crazy person and I'm still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy is as crazy does, right?
You can live with anything these days, Kurt. Well, anyways, the best thing Well, the I don't know. Some people, it may be some people's favorite event of the year when it comes to motorsports, but the Indianapolis 500 happened in our absence, and I had some friends there. Interestingly enough,
That's right. You had told me you had friends going.
yeah, I was very jealous, but
Oh man.
wow, what a race, Kurt! What'd you think?
Well, and you told me they're not even really big race fans. They're going because it's an event. And did it blow their mind? Like they're like, we're going back next year.
Yeah, well, it was my best friend, and she was just texting me like, "Dude, these cars go so fast."
Yeah, yeah, they
Yeah,
kind of do that. Yeah, they do that. They
yeah. I was
do
like,
do that.
"Yep." And so I think like when you really don't know anything about motorsports, when you go to an event such as the Indianapolis 500 and you see that, like it's like, whoa.
Yeah. Plus, there's 400,000 of your closest friends there too. I mean, it's. I mean, when you go to the Indy parade, the day before the 500, if the hairs on your back and your neck and your arms aren't standing up and you have your whole body tingles, you may be a terrorist because it is over. And
American.
yeah, it is the definition of Americana. It is so. It's not only a great motorsports event; it's a great event. I've been 3 times,
Wow.
and it even for this grizzled old veteran, I was there as a guest of Vision Racing, which is Tony George's team, who his um, um, nephew drives for, which is Ed Carpenter Racing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, you just look around and go, is this real? And then to see how it's evolved. The first year I went was way back in the day when they had the original Snake Pit, which was outside of Turn 1, outside the track, which is basically like the world center of debauchery. I mean, it was eye opening to say the least. Yeah, a lot of debauchery, and I'll just leave it at that. It's basically, it's yeah, it's something else. But then um, when Disney got involved with the Indy 500 and Disney's image and the new track owners and management, they decided to end it, and so they put a fork in it, and a lot of people were pissed off. So and then they now moved it inside the raceway, down in between turn 3 and 4, and it is still a lot of debauchery going on, but not like it used to be. I mean, like people openly having sex, and snorting cocaine, and smoking marijuana. Yeah, it was something else, but now it's not that way at all. But it's a really good party.
Yeah.
But when grizzled old veterans of the Indy 500 like myself see the new cleaned up, Disney friendly Snake Pit. I mean, it's still a good party, but it's more like a rock concert, which is
Yeah.
cool. But
More
if
like
you're
family friendly.
yeah, if you're a complete wacko crazy liking all that debauchery and perversion like me, it's way too sterile.
Too
But
clean.
that's a whole other story.
But
But
I get
it
that. I think
it's it's part of the event. It's like Woodstock. Woodstock without the bizarre and the perversion and the insanity and the mud and the rain just would have been a rock concert.
right.
I mean, I grew up in the
Agreed.
'60s and '70s. I mean, come on, man. Come on, man.
Well, speaking
There's
of
my finger.
perversion
Oh my
and
god.
freaky deakiness, what did you think of that national anthem performance? People are
Uh
pissed.
yeah, I thought she did a good job, but here's the
Was it
thing.
like Fergie? Was it as bad as Fergie at the All Star game a few years ago? Do you remember that?
Barely, but I think if memory serves me correct, I would say probably not. Like
I
no,
missed
I
that.
I do remember how bad that was, and I like Fergie, but I'm like, what the hell's going on around here? It was like it's like didn't anybody coach these people? And I mean, I announce every weekend at Colorado National Speedway, one of the top NASCAR short tracks in America, and the track ownership management does a really good job at getting people that are in the right space to sing our national anthem. Um, but I've always defaulted, and I've announced a lot of races for a long time. And I can remember one instance um, where we had a new guy that was helping me. And I always default to Whitney Houston 1991 Super Bowl, which
Yeah,
yeah,
iconic.
some people call that unpatriotic, but it was just so much different. But it absolutely was mesmerizing. So I always play, if I'm in that situation where we don't have a singer or whatever, I play Whitney Houston. People love it. It still brings a tear to my eye. I mean, that was in the middle of Desert Storm. You probably don't even remember that, but when we were going over to get the bad guys, and
Yeah,
it was it was very powerful,
sure.
and it is very powerful. So I always default to that. I thought Jewel did a good job, but I did say in my mind's eye that I thought this is a little on the edge, and I don't even know why I say that but it just you get used to the way the anthem is done. Don't try to shine it up and polish it up too much and make it yours, because the anthem is the anthem. It's not so you can sell more hit records. And I didn't think Jewel did that, but yeah, she got a lot of heat. But so did Whitney Houston. But I thought it was fine. Um, it was a little less than the traditional, but what the hell is the traditional anymore? I thought she did a good job. Didn't have a problem with it, but I did even say, I'm like, oh, this is some people are going to get their undies in a bunch, but you can't please anybody anymore. In my world, 50% of the people I make or I meet hate me. The other 50% love me, and the other 50% aren't here. So,
I mean, it's a little silly to be upset about, but I mean, I do understand because I hate when like it's a beautiful event, it's an amazing thing, it's like a special time, it's the Indianapolis 500.
it's
And
the heart of Americana.
yeah, yeah, and you want to hear something that's inspiring and that like kind of just like kicks off like a beautiful time
Yeah,
or something
yeah.
special. And then when it's
It's
something different, it's kind of just like
it just can't be too different. It's like the guy that did the Daytona 500 this year, which again, Americana. Um, and I forget who it is, but he did the guitar solo and he crushed it. He's kind of a country western guy, but not. You can't do too much twang and sang. And my girlfriend left me for another chick. You can't get too way out there. But the story I was telling you. So I was announcing one of the dirt track shows here in Colorado, and I had a new guy helping with the audio, and I told him, I said, played Whitney Houston, Star Spangled Banner, 1991. And he
yeah.
played Jimi Hendrix Star Spangled Banner lead with the guitar. And people were screaming. They were throwing like hamburger pieces at us up in the tower.
What?
It did not go over well. And I looked, his name was Jason. I looked at him about 20 seconds and I'm like, what are you doing? I mean, kill it. Play Whitney Houston. And so he did. But I mean, we got a lot of heat from the promoter, and the heat came on me because I run the tower. But I told him to play it. But he's one of these young, snarky, I know everything better than you do kids. And he wanted to be an announcer, but he was terrible. And so he was supposed to be there to assist me and to, maybe jump in and help a little bit. But, he thought he had a better idea. And boy, that better idea, he never came back.
It
And
bombed.
yeah, to say the least. And I told Joe Bellum, the promoter, I said, I really don't need to see that kid again because I don't need the heat. And the heat always comes back, on the announcer.
Yeah.
And I don't need it. So
Well,
anyway,
that's awesome. Anyways, well let's get to the racing. How about that?
what's that?
Well, where were you? Where were you watching? What did you think? It was it was a caution-free race. Then towards the end, as you said, shit hit the fan.
Yeah.
Um, what'd you think? What'd you think of our winner?
Well, so like Joseph Newgard, I would have liked to, and Santino Ferrucci is a really good friend of the program. He's a good friend of mine. The guy is just a hoot. He's a total badass. I think in the 3 years he's competed in the Indy 500, he holds a record for passing the most cars. He passed on the outside, the inside, the grass, wherever he needs to go. Santino is an awesome dude, and to see AJ Voigt, he looks the best I've seen him look in a decade, and he was helping the tire carriers carry tires. That's how into it he was. Because Santino actually led about 8-9 laps, and they had that pit stop, and they kind of got cycled, and it took a little bit for him to get the speed. So I think maybe the tires were a little off.
Yeah.
But he was in the thing to win it, and it was so exciting to see. Oh my God, all kinds of screaming and yelling going on behind me. I'm up at the country club. I hope they're not like somebody's not getting killed.
They're getting lit down there at the country club.
Oh my God, I need to get over there and start drinking.
You.
But Santino was in it to win it, and I thought at a point there he had a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was caution free for almost 8/10 of the race, and then everything went sideways, including a lot of cars. The most spectacular of the weekend, probably certainly Kyle Kirkwood's crash, where he's sliding upside down. That video is everywhere. I might throw it up on Facebook after we get done with this, but sliding and the in-car camera right on him, and he's upside down, the sparks flying off the cowl, the halo, and his tire gets torn off and bounces into the just actually ironically, a friend of mine was sitting in that grandstand where the tire just barely cleared it and went over the rail and then hit a parked car that was between the two grandstands. And of course, Doug Bowles, being a good guy, went and found the lady on the car, took her down to the bricks for victory's celebration. I mean, they did it right. And she had the time of her life. There was a lot of video out there, but it was, I mean, I'm thinking this thing's going fast. Now, I had to announce that night because we had a doubleheader up at the racetrack this weekend. So I was just sitting home watching it. And, Marcus Ericsson, here he comes again and is in the lead. And then the aforementioned Ed Carpenter, which is Ed Carpenter Racing, ECR, who run his VK, was on the front row, and they had a great looking 500 until their wheels came off, literally. It was the strangest Indy 500 I've seen in a long time. I mean, Graham Rahal not qualifying. His dad went through the same thing back in the 80s. And then here's what the ironic thing is. Stefan Wilson, brother of my dearly departed, very close former friend Justin Wilson, puts that ride together for Indy. He does one race every year. And minding his own business, and unfortunately got checked up in traffic on Carb Day. And Catherine Legg, good friend of mine, and Englishwoman. Catherine and the Wilson family are really close. Mm-hmm. The Rahal family and the Wilson family, very close. Graham Rahal once said on my program years ago that he thought the best driver in the IndyCar series, flat out, was Justin Wilson. Oh, and that the IndyCar series needs to really look out, because if Justin could ever get like a Penske ride or a Ganassi ride, that he may ride off into the sunset. And a lot of the competitors agreed that Justin might be the best driver in the series. They won't say that publicly, but I know this for a fact. There are a lot of people who are like, that guy is seriously fast and talented, and always did the best with what I would call, B equipment. I mean,
yeah.
Dale Coyne Racing, Pete put Dale Coyne on the map, couple victories there. And here's the ironic thing. So Stefan breaks his back. Ironically, almost the same kind of fracture Justin had years ago in a crash he had, I believe it was either Elkhart Lake or Mid-Ohio. And we had a Get Well Justin Wilson party for him, a Quaker Steak and Lube. It was Get Well Justin Wilson, farewell Kurt Busch, when Kurt didn't re-up with Furniture Row. We had a huge party there, and Justin was there with his back brace and there with his dad. So the connection between, here's another incident too, a lot of people don't either remember or know about. Graham, a few seasons, well, it's longer than a few seasons ago, but before Justin passed, obviously, Justin, I believe it was Mid-Ohio, and Justin had a really good car and was battling Graham Rahal for the lead.
Yeah.
And the race was winding down. Graham was leading, and Justin got a big run off him. off of one, going up the hill into the right-hander, and Justin easily had Graham passed. It was a far faster car. I believe Sonny's Barbecue was on the side of the car. That was the Dale Coyne car. Maybe not. If it wasn't Sonny's, it was some decal company. Car was red and white. Anyway, I'm trying to blow the cobwebs out. And Justin has Graham beat to the corner, dead to rights, and they're really good friends. You see Justin look over, Graham looks over, Justin slowly rolls out and lets Graham go because Graham was battling for a championship. Yeah. That's the kind of guy Justin Wilson was. He rolled out and let Graham go on and get the win. So the
shake and bake.
I mean, broken back Justin, broken back Stefan. Stefan's out. Graham Rahal in. The Legg family and the Wilson family like this. Catherine's driving one of the Rahal Lanigan Letterman cars. I mean, the whole thing. I had this vision of, and this it wasn't going to happen just because it wasn't going to happen, but Stefan Wilson and Catherine either battling for the lead, then went out, and then Graham Rahal stepping into that seat, and deja vu again was deja vu that never happened. Graham Rahal and Catherine Legg battling for the win with 10 laps to go. How would that be for the Karma fucking spaceship, huh?
Well, that's a good like movie premise. That would be like a good story.
And you know what? You can only get it right here from me because no one else is going to tell you that story. I know that story because I've been part of that story. And I even used to, you say, Justin, you had Graham dead to rights. He goes, well, you know, mate. Well, and then when Justin passed, here's another black helicopter piece. And I know people watch this are loving it. And this, you've never heard this before, and you're hearing it right now. And it's 100% fucking the truth. Graham, I reached out to Graham because Graham put together the auction for the Wilson family after Justin passed for Julia and the girls.
Yeah.
And I contacted Graham. This is when I was working with Furniture Row. I said, hey, if I get together a whole bunch of really cool stuff to donate to the auction, can I send it to you and you take these, Kurt? Absolutely. So I got all this really cool Furniture Row racing stuff and sent it to Graham, and then he got it up on the auction. So there's just one other factoid to this really bizarre circumstance. But to the finish of the race, so I was happy they red flagged it and restarted him because I wanted Santino to win.
Yeah.
And I have a Joseph Newgarden story that will also blow your fucking mind that no one has ever talked about. You'll never hear, but we're going to do that next week because I want to wrap this up. So, here's the deal. We're in the entertainment business, the IndyCar Series entertainment business. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway, epic, iconic event. People go every year. There's pictures of like 4 and 5 generations of people that go.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, it's a race, but it's also in today's world entertainment event. Who owns the IndyCar Series? Roger Penske. Who owns the Indianapolis Motor Speedway? Roger Penske. What car was in second place? Joseph Newgarden drives for Roger Penske. Marcus Ericsson won the Indy 500 last year in a very exciting close finish. They didn't want the race to finish on a red flag or under caution. I've seen that happen before. Buddy Rice did it. I think Dario Franchitti one year won with a downpour because lightning was there. It's
calculated.
What's that?
It was calculated.
Some people thought about it, and I'll leave it at that. I don't want to say it was rigged. I don't want to say, but it's very controversial. Marcus Ericsson was really pissed off. I get it. He could have gone back to back. Only the second or third time that's ever happened. So I get it. He wants to go down in history books of being a 2-time winner of the Indy 500 and the only person to do it back to back in forever. It's been done before, but a couple guys. But they wanted the race to finish in racing conditions. We've seen this happen before, usually at the Daytona 500. A lot of the drivers took Marcus a task with just being, a pity party. but I don't know. I mean, it is interesting. But it wasn't raining. There was no weather in the area. They could restart the race. Was it a little dodgy in the fact that they literally got 3/4 of a lap to get the tires up to temp? Yeah, yeah, because those cars don't stick real good at 230 on cold tires. Now the tires weren't cold, but it was the same for everybody.
Right.
Uh, would I like to see Marcus win? Sure. Am I like, jumping up and down Marcus Ericsson guy?
Nah.
Not really. He's kind of, I mean, the Netflix series Drive to Survive made him famous when he raced for Alpha and he had a huge crash. But, I wanted Santino to win. I think he had the car. Yeah, but not maybe with just giving a lap to make it happen. And Joseph was going to he'd have to driven over Joseph to get to Marcus, and that wasn't going to happen. Am I happy for Newgarden? Yeah, especially because the story I'm going to tell you next week is you're going to go, what? And it's also going to make you laugh pretty good. It's like the Tony Kanaan story. Since Tony, his lost Indy 500 years ago, I was at the Jimmy Vasser golf tournament, and the place was packed. It's a little private golf course outside of Monterey. Well, in Monterey, but up in the hills. And I'm late, and I'm like racing this car. We're both in rental cars, and I'm trying to. And I'd been there before, ironically. So I'm like, I'm going to try to see if I can sneak down where the maintenance workers park, so I can be close to the clubhouse and run up. And so I pass this person. And next thing I know, this person's following me. I'm like, oh, great. It's probably a federal marshal or something. Wow. And I parked down in the employee parking for the maintenance area, which I wasn't really a parking space. It was in the trees. It was pretty dodgy. And this other guy comes in and kind of slides up behind me, jumps out. It's Tony Kanaan. And I'm like, TK, nice work. He's like, dude, you can drive pretty good. I figured you knew where you were going, so I just follow you. Yeah. He said, we get towed here. I said, maybe. And he laughs. And so he starts taking a piss.
What?
In between the trees. He's like, oh, I've been in the car for too long. Ha, ha, ha. He's laughing away. And I'm like, dude, you're killing me. And so I made some joke about his
low profile.
And so I make a joke, and he goes, hey, don't be laughing about my nose. My nose is not too big. My face is too small. Oh, God. I've been around this way too long. But I like the race. I'm pumped. I'm really sad I had a chance to go, many chances. But just with the announcing gig and everything else we got going on, I mean, the podcast, the radio show, TV, all the other commitments, sponsor commitments. I mean, I feel like I'm back driving again in the Toyota Atlantic Championship Pro Series with Champ Car, because I got all these duties to do.
You're booked and busy.
I'm booked and beaten is what I am. But I'm glad you're feeling. I was just trying to figure out how can I get to the Knoxville Nationals for World Outlaws. And I'm looking at my schedule and it's like, no, that's just no way. And it's ironic I'm wearing my Speed Sport shirt because they were so gracious to bring me out last year and help them out. And it looks like Joe and Ralph Steele, Speed Sport 1, their new TV channel, is going good. And hopefully Race Central TV will be, we're everywhere else. So, hopefully we talked about that. Maybe that'll happen. I don't know. Not a big deal. But good to see they're doing well. I mean, and then now we got Denny Hamlin, getting Chase Elliott suspended for a race. I mean, it's just between Ross Chastain and Denny Ham Sandwich. Oh my God. And then the Nuggets are in the playoffs, our championship round, and that starts tonight. Yeah, and downtown Denver is like, I'm not going down there.
Ooh, I don't know. It would be fun to be down there for this.
No, for pretty young blonde girls, yes. With handsome boyfriends, yes. For me, no. Okay. No. Plus, I don't want to get hepatitis or anything.
Oh, yeah. That's true. Oh, gosh. I would literally stay inside all year if it meant not having to deal with that again. But anyways, what did you think about the purse? I guess it was a record number, 3.1 million winnings.
Unbelievable. I mean, yeah, as if Joseph Newgarden needs the money. But you know what? He won it. So, and I wonder how much of that he keeps because every driver has a different deal. If you're highly paid, you get a piece of it, but if you're paying for your ride, you'll get a much bigger piece of the purse than if you're a highly paid driver. You'll still get some, don't get me wrong, but, who knows what the split is? He earned it. Hallelujah. It just dawned on me too. Roger owns a speedway. Roger owns a series. Penske probably gets a piece of the purse. I feel a black helicopter coming up behind me. Boy, would that start? I better lay off of that. I'll never get a credential to the IndyCar series or the Speedway again.
Yeah,
that just dawned on me. That's an interesting. If Tom Brady can't play for the Raiders because he owns part of the Raiders because there's collusion. There's that helicopter again. It's in silent mode.
Who knows about corruption in motor racing? But that's another topic for another day. I'm sure we'll get.
Of course, there is. I'm not saying there was this time, but of course there is.
Yeah.
Formula One is. Oh my God, we can have that conversation. We will. I'll tell my Joseph Newgarden story next week. I got another Santino story I'll tell next week. I got a Justin story, God bless him, I'll tell next week about the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb.
Okay.
When I was with him when he was going to run the hill climb for Honda a long time ago. I'm going to start unpacking a lot of really good, never heard before stories. I think that would be fun.
That's what Race Central Unplugged is all about. Episode 18 was our Indy wrap-up, Indy analysis, and episode 19, everyone make sure you tune in next week because that'll be story time with Kurt Hansen.
Or tomorrow night on Race Central on the radio, on ESPN Radio AM 1600.
Back on the radio.
Back on, and then on FM 104.3, The Fan, HD Channel 2. And for all of you watching around the country and around the globe, you can find us easily at racecentralmedia.com. Just click on the Listen Live link. Sid, good to see you. Look beautiful as ever. I'm glad you're okay. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow night.
Yes, absolutely. We will see everyone. Well, we won't see everyone, but they'll be hearing us tomorrow on the radio. And, of course, we'll see you back here next week for episode 19. Kurt, until tomorrow.
Yeah, hopefully the Nuggets will be 1-0 and 1-0 and off we go.
Yeah. All right. See you, everyone.
See you, kid.